Great. Our next presentation will be given by Jonghyup Kim. He's CEO of The Loop. The Loop has commercialized last year. It's one of the leading, if not the leading company in Korea and perhaps soon around the world. So let's welcome Jonghyup with big hands.
Hello, everyone. My name is J.H. Kim, and I'm the CEO of The Loop. The explosive interest in blockchain and cryptocurrency has indeed entered into the stage for serious discussion today. As a blockchain technology company with a proprietary blockchain platform, we think it is very important to show an actual blockchain application with its value to the public. So today, I prepare our presentation on the subject of commercial blockchain application and scalability. Let's think about what needs to be considered when we apply blockchain technology. When people make a plan for blockchain application, they often face two challenges. One, whether blockchain is really necessary. And two, whether blockchain can really solve the problem. Let's take a look at the white paper of Bitcoin to get some sense about what needs to be considered. You may have taken a look at Bitcoin white paper if you are interested in blockchain. Here, Satoshi has mentioned that Bitcoin's goal is to enable direct transaction between one and another without trusted third party. This means one should be able to answer why he or she is trying to eliminate the trusted third party and why your trusted third party is unreliable when suggesting blockchain-based business model. There are two common errors people make when they claim that they need to be implemented blockchain. First, they often claim that it is blockchain technology which make the service available. But most of these services are actually feasible under the existing centralized structure. This is an error similar to saying that the technology is a sufficient condition for innovation. In reality, innovation happens by market needs rather than technology itself. The second common error is to claim that intermediary cannot be trusted at all. They sometimes claim that all of a sudden we cannot trust an intermediary that we have been trusted just fine up till today. Or they claim that the value of the certain service will disappear if it's set up an intermediary, since the intermediary will act upon his or her own benefit. In summary, some services are facing problems because of the intermediary, and others have a problem finding one to make the service run. One should also think about the governance model and the rules to run the blockchain when implementing it. Because even though blockchain has led to a twist in the idea of decentralization, it is important to realize that the blockchain itself is just a technology that supports the decentralized governance model. Different sectors such as financial service, payment, and capital market have started their effort to apply blockchain service in their own industries. Financial services sectors are especially aggressive in the adoption. From an outsider's perspective, it might seem ironic that financial institutions, the intermediary of the financial service, are eager to implement blockchain. However, even financial institutions require separate intermediaries to process transactions with each other. And thus, it is also in their favor to eliminate intermediary friction. Obviously, it is another issue to return the value created by solving intermediary inefficiency to the customer. Financial institutions that were connected by intermediaries need to cooperate with each other in order to eliminate. Such a movement started in 2015. In November 2015, Goldman Sachs, JP Morgan, and other large banks started to review the joint adoption of blockchain technology under the R3 Consortium. This approach directly applies blockchain technology to real financial transactions, which is a significantly different approach from Bitcoin, which aims to revolutionize financial transaction with a peer-to-peer transaction. In fact, Google search for blockchain instead of Bitcoin grew enormously. A blockchain consortium among banks has also emerged in Japan. In October 2016, a giant blockchain consortium was launched with 42 banks participating. In Japan, even domestic remittance requires a lot of time and transaction fee, and the consortium aimed to fix this problem with blockchain. Likewise, numerous blockchain consortium has formed for various purposes and have conducted different POCs for real adoption. There are now over 40 of such blockchain consortiums worldwide. It is worth noting that the financial service industry is leading the trend. Korea Investment Blockchain Consortium, which I will introduce later, is the biggest blockchain consortium in South Korea, comprised of 25 securities firms. Not all blockchain applications through a blockchain consortium have been successful. As mentioned above, the success of the project was only partially influenced by technology itself. 4 key factors were identified in successful blockchain consortiums: membership, funding, governance, leadership. These 4 factors are well identified in the Korea Investment Blockchain Consortium, where it was already successfully launched the blockchain application. First, its membership was strengthened with most of the companies in Korea financial investment industry joining the consortium. Furthermore, it had a common goal of eliminating service fee provided to various intermediaries, and the funding was relatively smooth. Governance-wise, it dealt with the diverse issue by setting up a working committee and technical committees centered around the chief operation committees. Lastly, the consortium chose the Loop as its technical partner and let us lead the project with the consortium secretariat. Now, let me talk about Coffea Consortium blockchain, which can be said to be the most successful blockchain application example in the world. At the heart of the Korea Financial Investment Blockchain Consortium in Coffea is Coffea, the Korea Financial Investment Association. Coffea is the sole self-regulatory organization of the Korea finance industry. Coffea acts as a think tank for the financial investment industry, dedicating it to a leading role in promoting the development and globalization of the Korea capital market. 25 financial investment institutions have joined Coffea to launch the consortium in December 2016. Korea Financial Investment Blockchain Consortium operates with the following roadmap. The first phase is planned to build a blockchain infrastructure and adapt to it. We decide to prioritize services that are not directly related to the transactions. So we built a service of blockchain-based authentication and service to share issue report on personal data security, which I will introduce later. The second page is applied to financial transactions rather than real-time transactions. We are preparing to process clearing and settlements with a blockchain rather than interbank network in current state. The final phase is to apply blockchain to real-time transactions. Since there is the regulation issue in trading real stocks, we will support real-time trading with blockchain on OTC market first. Through this stage, we expect the role of traditional intermediaries in the investment industry to gradually diminish. Now, let's look at the actual blockchain authentication service. Korea has a unique authentication system, which is an authentication service based on NPKI, National Public Infrastructure. In the early 2000s, Korea enacted the Digital Signature Act to encourage the use of the digital signature, which made the legal status of digital signature the same as the actual physical signature. Also, the government designate and operate a national accredited certificate authority for each industry to make the digital signature accreditable. In order to promote the adoption of an NPKI-based authentication system, the government has enforced the use in the financial and public sector. In fact, the NPKI certification system has contributed to the growth of online banking and e-commerce since it is a reliable certification system that is recognized by the government. But we also have this problem. To make a financial transaction, users must obtain a certificate from third-party accredited certificate CA, certificate authority, that is not related to the transaction itself. On top of that, financial institutions are in charge of customer identification, and they provide the data needed for certificate issuance to the certificate authority. It is a typical structure with an intermediary. Also, there are pain points all Koreans can relate to. Users have to renew the registration of these certificates every year for every financial institution. There is also a problem of single point of failure, one of the biggest risks in trading through intermediaries. In Korea, most financial and public services will have to stop if there is a problem with the certificate authority. Blockchain-based authentication service has introduced to address these problems. In this blockchain network, compromise of numbers of finance institutions, certificates are issued based on the contract agreed by the network participants. Participants just need to agree any change needed to certificate issuance and management. People do not need to spend time and money to wait for the certificate authority to change the status, unlike the legacy system. Then the certificate issued will be shared on blockchain by default. Users are saved from the trouble of registering certificate to each and every financial institution. Also, since the certificate authority, which was the single point of failure, is replaced with a smart contract, rest of the financial institution can still function normally as long as most of the nodes do not have issue. Speaking of authentication based on blockchain, there are two models in general. The first is the model where participants share the data required for authentication via blockchain. In this case, each participant will create the data required for authentication off-chain. However, the integrity of the logic in how they generate the data required for authentication is not guaranteed. In other words, the distributed database would be enough if the data can be trusted without the validation of the authentication data registered by each node. The second model is the model where data required for authentication are created and managed by smart contract according to the contract agreed by participants in advance. This model ensures that transparency of the procedure as the integrity of the procedure is guaranteed by the blockchain. Let's look more closely at the authentication service based on smart contract. In Korea, there are already a wide range of the legacy system for NPKI-based X.509 certificate to be used in authentication service. One example would be RA, or Registration Authority. On behalf of CA, RA is responsible for the KYC and the procedures come before certificate management. The smart contract-based authentication service is implemented taking this legacy system fully into account. Smart contracts include the following. Data shared by the contract are the certificate itself and certificate status. Transactions sent by each node include information required to issue a certificate such as DN, expiration date, user's public key, etc. If the node digital signature in the transaction is validated, the certificate is issued based on the issuance request information included in the transaction and is added to the contract data. Let's take a look at how smart contract actually works and how a certificate is issued step by step. A user goes through the KYC by financial institution. A private key and public key are then created with the public key cryptography. Step 3 is where the public key is sent to the financial institution to request the certificate issuance. The financial institution generates a transaction to issue certificate with the user's public key included in the transaction and add its signature to request the transaction to the blockchain. Within the blockchain, block generator, which is the leader peer, collect the transaction and generate the candidate block while verifying the transaction. From step 8 to 11, a certificate is generated by validating the candidate block and executing, while all these changes are made on consensus. When the consensus is finalized and the certificate is generated on blockchain normally, certificate issuance is complete by delivering it to the user. A certificate submitted with the user login or financial transaction is for confirming the validity of digital signature. At this point, the validity of the certificate ensures that validity of the digital signature. In the original MPK's authentication system, CA was responsible for the task, but on the blockchain-based authentication system, this validation process is very simple as both certificate and certificate status are stored in blockchain. A financial institution can verify the validity of the certificate by simply calling the status of the certificate stored in smart contract from its own node. The application provided by the single blockchain can be expanded via interconnection of blockchains. Now, let's take a look at the various inter-blockchain technology and its recent trend. Bitcoin and Ethereum show a hint of inter-blockchain technology that can quickly process their cryptocurrency by their side chains. And Polkadot is the very first case of the inter-blockchain project. Gavin Wood, the co-founder and CTO of the Ethereum, is pushing ahead the Polkadot project, and he is trying to solve the scalability issue of the blockchain by interconnection of blockchains. In relay chain that connect independent blockchain called the parachain, he adopted the concept bridge chain, which supports connection of blockchains with different consensus algorithms. In the enterprise blockchain space, Microsoft announced the Coco Framework in 2017. It is a practical inter-blockchain platform that connects multiple blockchains. Through Coco Framework, you can link various blockchains such as JP Morgan's Quorum, R3 Coda, as well as public blockchains such as Ethereum. Coco Framework can configure distributed application that is based on state replication machine among Coco network members via a node named Coco VN. You can also connect various blockchains through Coco VN. It is a platform that can operate inter-blockchain application connected with the Coco network and other various blockchains. Icon project is a public blockchain project that is technically supported by the Loop. The Loop has built various private blockchain and consortium blockchain network over the last few years. Notice that these independent blockchains are willing to be connected to each other. We started the Icon project to build a blockchain hub that can bring this idea to reality. We do not believe that every application in the world can be provided by a single blockchain protocol. Instead, we believe that blockchain services will expand by connecting various blockchains with independent governance. In the same way as how Internet emerged from the connection of intranets. One of the key elements of the Icon project is BTP, blockchain transmission protocol. BTP is the protocol that transposes consensus and transactions in between blockchains. It is based on light client technology and Nexus multi-channel technology. As shown on the left, you can keep track all of the consensus reached on each blockchain through the light client of the connected blockchains in Nexus. Nexus also provides light client technology. Thus, any blockchain that is connected to Nexus can check the consensus status on Nexus. To sum up, one can confirm the consensus status of blockchain A from Nexus, and Nexus will record the record of this request. This state can then be checked on blockchain B, so that as a result, one can check the consensus of blockchain A from blockchain B. Let's take a look at a simple example of BTP. This is an example of implementing the certificate introduced by the Korea Finance Investment Blockchain Consortium to another independent blockchain. In this case, a certificate issued by blockchain A is submitted to the blockchain B, and therefore the validity of this certificate is needed to be confirmed. In step 4, blockchain A is requested to check the status of the blockchain, and the result is submitted to the blockchain B via BTP. In other words, BTP allows the node in blockchain B to confirm the consensus made on blockchain A without a specific node from blockchain A or separate intermediary involved. Today I will explain the blockchain application based on real use case, and how we expanded this kind of service by connecting between blockchains. And this is the end of my presentation. Thank you for listening.
Thank you very much. Okay, JH, can you stay there for a couple of minutes? Any questions? Have a question for you. So you've been successful in commercializing your blockchain loop chain technology to be used in the financial sector in security companies. What other areas are you currently working on to commercialize your blockchain technology? Can you share some of the projects that you're working on?
At this stage, we are focused on the field of SCM or gaming industry or something like that. Okay,
very good. Mm-hmm. What else? Okay. So gaming industry requires fast transaction processing as well. Can your loop chain support fast processing?
Yeah, loop chain is, we made it from the scratch, so we can configure it from the completely. So we made the customized the blockchain engine for the gaming industry.
Okay, very good. Okay. All right. Thank you very much for your presentation.